This documentary is based on historical records, declassified intelligence documents, and academic research. When people think of the Cold War, they often imagine nuclear missiles, ideological speeches, and divided cities. But behind the visible confrontation stood something less dramatic and far more decisive: technology. From 1947 to 1991, the United States and the Soviet Union competed not only in military strength, but in scientific progress. Rockets, radar systems, computers, aircraft, nuclear technology, all became strategic assets. But one question continues to generate debate. Did innovation come from internal research alone, or from Ever wondered who really won the Cold War tech race? Was it the US with its moon landing in Silicon Valley, or the Soviet Union with its early space victories and massive nuclear arsenal? The truth is way more complicated and fascinating. Let's peel back the layers of propaganda and see what really happened. The story starts with a bang. Literally, the nuclear race. When the US dropped atomic bombs in 1945, they thought they had a monopoly. But just 4 years later, the Soviets detonated their own. How? Espionage played a huge part. Spies like Klaus Fuchs passed critical secrets from the Manhattan Project. Straight to Moscow, giving the Soviet program a massive shortcut. This wasn't about stealing one blueprint. It was about understanding the fundamental science and engineering, which Soviet scientists were more than capable of once pointed in the right direction. Then came the rockets. Both superpowers knew the future of warfare was in missiles. And where did they turn for expertise? Nazi Germany. In a mad scramble after World War II, both the US and the USSR snatched up German rocket scientists. The US got the big prize. Werner von Braun, the mind behind the V-2 rocket. The Soviets captured his factories and a large number of his engineers. This German expertise kick-started both nations' missile programs. So, in the beginning, they were both learning from the same German textbook. This rocket rivalry blasted off into the space race. And here, the Soviets took an early, Sokchin-led Sputnik. In 1957, the first satellite. Then Yuri Gagarin, in 1961, the first man in space. The world was stunned. The Soviet Union, often portrayed as backward, was beating America to the stars. Their rocket designs, like the R-7 booster, were simple, powerful, and incredibly reliable. They were triumphs of practical, robust engineering. America, panicked and embarrassed, poured billions into NASA. This intense pressure led to incredible innovation, culminating in the Apollo moon landing in 1969. It was a spectacular PR victory. But it is crucial to remember the Soviets were pioneers in so many other firsts. The first woman in space, the first spacewalk, the first probes to land on Venus and Mars. Meanwhile, another revolution was quietly unfolding. Microchips. The US took a decisive lead here. The invention of the transistor and the integrated circuit in American labs fueled the rise of Silicon Valley. This wasn't just about better calculators. It was about creating smaller, faster, and more powerful guidance systems for missiles, computers for intelligence analysis, and avionics for fighter jets. The Soviets struggled to keep up. Their centralized economy wasn't built for the fast-paced, decentralized innovation that defined the digital age. They tried to catch up through industrial espionage, famously copying the IBM system, 360 computer. But copying is not the same as innovating. By the time their clones were ready, the West had already moved on to the next generation. This microchip gap became a critical American advantage in the later decades of the Cold War. Throughout this entire period, intelligence agencies like the CIA and the KGB were in a constant, shadowy battle. They didn't just steal secrets. They actively sought to sabotage each other's progress. The CIA famously ran a program to feed the Soviets flawed or booby-trapped technology. One famous, though debated, story tells of a gas pipeline control system with a hidden software flaw, which allegedly led to a massive explosion in Siberia. Whether true or not, it highlights the new front of technological warfare. Stealing tech was risky, because you never knew if you were stealing a brilliant design or a Trojan horse. So, who learned from whom. Tianzueris. Everyone learned from everyone. It was a tangled web of genuine innovation, blatant espionage, shared German heritage, and strategic deception. The Soviets got a head start on the bomb through spying. Both sides jump-started their rocket programs with German know-how. The US was forced to innovate at lightning speed to catch up in space, and the Soviets were constantly playing catch-up on computers, often by copying Western designs. The idea that one side was always superior and the other was just a clumsy imitator is a myth. The Cold War was a clash between two different systems, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. The Soviet system could mobilize immense resources for huge, state-directed projects like Sputnik. The American system, with its mix of government funding, private industry, and university research, proved more agile and better at fostering disruptive innovations like the microchip. In the end, the technological race was a marathon, not a series of sprints. While the Soviets won many early battles, the US's economic and technological base, particularly in computing, gave it the long-term endurance to prevail. The Cold War wasn't just one with spies and soldiers. It was one in the labs of Silicon Valley and the engineering halls of NASA. It was a complex, fascinating, and often terrifying exchange that shaped the very world we live in today. Thanks for watching. If you found this dive into Cold War tech interesting, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history. See you next time.